We know that the substrate interacts with the enzyme at the active site, but so what? Why do we care? We're going to take an example to work this out. Our enzyme in this example is going to be called lactase, which is a very, very, very helpful enzyme because you need to break down lactose. So if someone is lactose intolerant, that means they don't have enough of the lactase enzyme. That also means you're in the club with me. But lactose, remember OSE means it's a sugar, and to break down lactose, living things need the enzyme lactase. So we have our enzyme lactase, we have our substrate lactose. And this substrate lactose cannot be digested as is. Okay? So I'm going to make a very, very simplified drawing. We're going to say this is lactase. And this is our substrate, lactose, which those of us with lactose intolerance do not like. What will happen, highlighting the active site, what will happen is when this lactose, it's going around, it has random molecular motion, just doing its own business, and then boom, it finds itself in a lactase enzyme. Once that lactase gets a hold of our lactose, we can make a drawing that looks a little bit like this. Right, so our lactase is hanging on to our lactose. When it's in this conformation or this shape, we call this the enzyme substrate complex. Lactose cannot be digested as it is, so we can't just have this enzyme substrate complex and say we're okay. We need to break down that lactose. This last piece is going to be step 3. And what's happening here is that the enzyme is wiggling ever so slightly with that lactose inside it. So the lactose is coming in, sitting in here, and then the enzyme is just going to have molecular motion as enzymes do. It's going to be moving around. At a certain point, it's going to be moving around too much for that lactose to stay in one piece. So the enzyme has moved around, did its thing, and now we have lactose broken into 2 pieces. And then these leave the enzyme. Just draw them like this. So you know there's 2 halves. Used to be lactose, but now we have glucose and galactose. These we call our products. And luckily for us, these can be digested. So we have step 1, the lactose moving around in the cell. Eventually it's going to hit a lactase at the active site. Then we have step 2, which is it's stuck in that active site. We'll talk about how, but basically there's some charge interactions going on between the substrate and the enzyme. And then we get some motion here, and eventually our substrate is broken. Here we broke lactose down into glucose and galactose. Those are our products. So if we're going to simplify this further, we can say lactose is broken down into glucose and galactose. And it does this by using the enzyme lactase. So if we want to go through our labels, we have the lactose, which is our substrate. We have lactase, which is our enzyme. And we have glucose and galactose, which are our products.